Right, gentlemen. Today we are moving on with the project resource management. This is the knowledge area which was earlier known as human resource, but now, in addition to the human resources, all other resources are also included in it. So, resource management has become an important knowledge area now because resource estimation, which is a major type of estimation along with the time estimation and the cost estimation, is now included here. Otherwise, in previous versions, resource estimation was done with time. Now, because it is separate and it is included in this knowledge area, therefore, this area becomes more important. Okay. So, in this knowledge area, we have two processes in planning and one process, three processes in monitoring, in execution, and one process in closing. Control. Let me say it again. We have two processes in planning, three processes in execution, and one process in monitoring and control. So this knowledge area includes those processes which are responsible for identification, acquisition, management of resources needed for the completion of the project. And these processes help ensure that the right resources will be available to the project manager and team at the right time and place. When we say right time and place, that means we are asking for JIT, that is just in time. All the required resources, no matter they are human resources or they are otherwise, all resources must be available when required for the project to do the job of the project as per the schedule. So, if we require certain raw material to be present to start an activity, that raw material should have been acquired before that activity starts. Moreover, we do not want the acquisition of the resources much before the activity starts, because then we have to take care of that resource by managing and maintaining it, which will cost extra. So we have to be very careful to plan in such a way that we do not have to take extra care of the resources required much earlier, and we do not get the resources late as well. So they must be just in time. This is the concept of just in time. We have the traditional 5 sections: the overview, the key concepts, trends and emerging practices, tailoring considerations, and the considerations of agile and adaptive environment. We'll cover them first, and then we will take on each one of these 6 processes of resource management. Plan resource management, naturally, this is always, for any knowledge area, the very first process is to develop a management plan for that knowledge area. So here, plan resource management is responsible for creating the resource management plan. So the process of defining how to estimate, how to acquire and manage and utilize physical and team resources. Physical resources are the non-living resources, and team resources are the living resources. Second process of planning is estimate activity resources. Here we are responsible, as per the resource management plan, the method of estimation given there would be used to estimate the activity resources, and this must be done in coordination and in combination with the cost estimation and the duration estimation. The process of estimating team resources and type and quantities of material, equipment, and supplies necessary to perform the project work. So this all has to be estimated during planning after the resource management plan has been created. So this is all about planning. We don't need to baseline this, because we only have three baselines: scope, time, and cost, and they have already been created. But these resources, this estimation must have impacted the schedule, the cost, and the scope. Therefore, we do not need to have any separate baseline for resources. In execution, we will have three processes. Number one, 9.3 is the acquire resources, where we obtain the team members, facilities, equipment, material, supplies, or any other resources necessary to complete the project. And the concept of just in time is applicable here. This is where we need those resources, and any resource which is required for any specific task must be available as soon as that is required, not earlier, not later. That is important here. Uh, when I talk about acquire resources, that means I'm talking about all kinds of resources, human resources as well as the non-living resources like machine, materials, supplies, tools, etc. So all those things which are required to do a job, and all those people who are required for that job must be available when, as per schedule, that activity has to start. As far as the non-living resources are concerned, we do not need to do anything more with them during execution, because they have been acquired, they have been put on job, and people responsible for doing that job will make use of those resources. But human resources are different. We have to take care of these human resources. How? We will, first of all, once we acquire the human resource in 9.3, this is the process of hiring or making them available for the job. This must be done much before the activity starts. And then we must also have some time to develop the team. First, you have acquired the team. Now you have to develop the team. And developing the team means making them ready for the job. They have to be briefed, they have to be trained, they have to be, you know, uh, made to work as a group, as a team. The people who are going to be working on your project might have good proficiency, might be efficient, might be effective, but individually only. How will they behave as a team? Will the team be effective? Will the team be efficient? So these people have to be put together in shape of a team, and we have to see how they work and how they behave as a team. They must be competent as a team, because whatever job they are going to be assigned, that job will only be successful when they will do teamwork. The process of improving competencies, team member interaction, and the overall team environment to enhance project performance. This is to be done in developed team. And remember, this is before the work starts. Human resource has been acquired before the work starts. Human resource will have to be developed as a team before the work starts. And after we have done these two, acquisition and development of the team, third thing is 9.5, manage team. This is the process where these resources are put on job, and now we are watching them, we are managing them, we are, you know, looking at their performance, we are providing them feedback, we are resolving their issues, conflicts, and all that, and managing team changes to optimize the project performance. So, just like manage quality, where in manage quality we studied that we will keep an eye on all the processes. How are those processes behaving? How those processes are going on? So while the process was happening, the only process which could keep an eye on the process was manage quality. Here, the same thing will happen with the team. While the human resources are being employed, they are working on the job, what they were assigned. We will have an eye on them. The supervisor's job is to keep a watch on the team as if they are working as they should be working, providing them feedback and fixing any issues they may have. And if at all the project performance is not being optimized, then he may have to manage the team to optimize the resources, maybe make some changes in team or whatever. So whatever treatment is to be meted to the team will happen in this process of managed team. So these are the three processes we do in execution as far as resources are concerned. And you have clearly seen that only one process of acquisition deals with the non-living resources. Rest two processes are exclusively for the human resources, develop team and manage team. And the first process was acquire team, acquire resources, which included the acquisition of resources also, as well as the team. Now, moving on to monitoring and control, we have 9.6 control resources, and this is all about the non-living resources. The process of ensuring that the physical resources are the non-living resources, machine, tools, and things like that. So ensuring that the physical resources assigned and allocated to the project are available as planned, as well as monitoring the planned versus actual use of resources and performing corrective actions as necessary. So, work performance data as well as the project management plan would be available to control resources, and it would be noting the variance in what resources had to be employed and what resources have been employed, and what is the difference, what is the variance, and how does it impact the baselines, scope, time, and cost. If at all it does, then it is a fit case for change request. Otherwise, the work performance data after analysis is converted into work performance information, which is then given to monitor and control project work. This is a summary of all the 6 processes we have just talked about, and naturally we will study each one of them in detail, but as a ready reference for at least this chapter, this knowledge area of resource management, this could be referred anytime. Project resource management, there is a distinction between the skills and competencies needed for the project manager to manage team resources versus physical resources. As I had already explained to you, living and non-living resources. Living resources are the people, manage team, and non-living resources are the physical resources, as I have explained to you, which include material, machine, tools, techniques, and all that. Physical resources include equipment, material, facilities, and infrastructure. Team resources are personnel, refer to human resources. So this is explicitly made clear here. If anybody has any doubt about it, you should clearly understand what are the physical resources, what are the team resources. So control resources process is only responsible for the physical resources. And as far as the team resources are concerned, we have, after acquisition of resources, we have develop resource and control and manage resource, 2 processes which are responsible for human beings. Personnel who have varied skill sets may be assigned full-time or part-time. This we also understand. Some of the resources will be employed full-time and others may be working only part-time, and may be added or removed from the project team as the project progresses. I am one of the workers. I have done my job. I am no more required on the project. I'll go to some other work. And a project manager, in contrast, might be a full-time role, or maybe some other role. There could be many roles which are full-time, and there could be many roles which are part-time. There is some overlap between project resource management and project stakeholder management. This section focuses on the subset of stakeholders who make up the project team. So what I'm trying to point out here is, when we'll talk about the stakeholders, um, we have already discussed a bit about identification of the stakeholders, and we do understand who the stakeholders are. Anybody and everybody who has to do anything with the project is a stakeholder. whether it is a positive or a negative stakeholder, it is internal or external. It may be the team member, it may be the customer, it may be any outside entity, anyone who has any interest, who can affect the project or can be affected by the project. From this definition, we understand that all the project team members are also stakeholders. Therefore, this is the overlap between the project resource management and the stakeholder management. You can say that the resources, the human resources being used in the project are a subset of the stakeholders the stakeholders of the project. Key concepts: the project team consists of individuals with assigned roles and responsibilities who work collectively to achieve a shared project goal. All the resources we are talking about, I'm talking about the human resources, all the project team members, or even whomsoever has any role to play in the project, is contributing to the team. Any stakeholder can be contributing to the project team. It is not only the people who are hired to do the work of the project, but there could be other stakeholders, somebody who has to approve something, somebody who has to give some opinion. So any interaction with the project would also entail that they will work with the project team. And therefore, all those who have any role to play, they must be assigned proper roles and responsibilities. Project managers should invest suitable effort in acquiring, managing, motivating, and empowering the project team. This is a great issue, how to deal with the project team members. Uh, Remember, these living resources are sentimental and emotional by nature, so they have to be motivated. You do not need to motivate a non-living item. Naturally, that if you have to have to use a vehicle, you just have to provide the petrol or gas or whatever is required to run that machine, and it will run. But a human resource, if you are paying him a salary, if you're paying, if giving him food, giving him uh, enough good conditions, still he may not like to work. So you have to understand what is the problem, and then you have to fix that problem, and only that person can be motivated if he has all his uh, impediments removed. Although specific roles and responsibilities for the project team members are assigned, the involvement of all team members in project planning and decision making is beneficial. This is again a very important point, as I have been talking about in time management and scheduling, that the project manager is not the only person responsible for creating the plan or the schedule. All the team members have to play a role in that. So, no matter that all the team members have their own roles and responsibilities, but they all have a shared responsibility of creating the project plan, and they must be involved as much as possible in the decision making process. This will this will help them to own the solution. They just can't say that we don't know, we have just been ordered to do this. They would then be part of the decision, and they would understand why this decision was taken. So they would be involved. Participation of team members during planning adds their expertise to the process and strengthens their commitment to the project. So they are committed if the decisions are taken in their presence are by them, by their participation. Project managers should be both leader and manager of the project team. Yes, we do agree that right from the beginning of the project manager has a managerial role, but in execution, especially when he is dealing with his team members, he has to take on the role of a leader. I'm not saying that he does not have the role of the leader in initiation or planning, but in execution, it is all about how you deal with your team. So more em- he has to put more emphasis on leadership during execution, but wherever he has to deal with team, while in planning, organization, or wherever, he has to act like a leader. In addition to the project management activities, such as initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing the various project phases, the project manager is responsible for the team formation as an effective group. So, if the team is not formed in the most effective manner, it will not result in an effective group, and ultimately, the project will not be done efficiently and effectively. Project managers should be aware of different aspects of influencing the team. So these are various aspects, like you have to provide a specific kind of team environment. You have to create an environment in which the people can work comfortably. Geographic location of the team members. It is said that it is always useful to co-locate the team members. The people who have to work together, they must be able to interact with each other. They must be in the same close vicinity if possible. Sometimes I do understand that may not be possible because sometimes you are working from geographies apart. Maybe one person is here in Pakistan, another person is sitting in USA, and you are a team and you are working. But then you use certain other tools like teleconferencing and other video conferencing or whatever, internet, etc. So geographic location is important. It is always good to have the team members co-located. Communication among stakeholders. Stakeholder, as we understand, whether they are part of your team or not, but communication with stakeholder is extremely very important. You have to have a transparent system of communication with your stakeholders. They should always know what they need to know. This is important because we do not want to overburden the stakeholder with unnecessary communication also. And at the same time, we do not want to hide details from a stakeholder which he needs to know. So you have to understand what is to be communicated to what stakeholder, and that must be done. Organizational change management, internal and external politics, that will matter, cultural issues and organizational uniqueness, and some other factors that may alter project performance. So these are some of the things which could influence the team. As a leader, project manager is also responsible for proactive developing team skills and competencies while retaining and improving team satisfaction and motivation. So this is definitely the responsibility of the project manager to prepare his people. If you feel that your team members are lacking some of the competencies, then it is your responsibility to develop those competencies by giving them personal mentoring, coaching, or maybe by organizing certain trainings for them. But naturally, you know better what kinds of skills are required by these team members, and if you feel that your team members do not have that competency level or those skills, then you must try to educate them, try to develop them, and in case you can't, then it is then your responsibility to exclude those team members who are not useful for the team and get inducted new and efficient team members who actually are competent to do that job. So you have to enhance their competency and skills while retaining and improving the team satisfaction and motivation. Why it is saying that? Because you may be training them excessively, giving them competencies and all that excessively, while team members get tired out of it and they are not able to perform when it is the time to perform. So team has to be justifiably used. They have to be satisfied and they should remain motivated. So this is a very fine balance project manager has to exercise. Project managers should be aware of and subscribe to professional and ethical behavior and ensure that all team members adhere to these behaviors. We did talk about the code of ethics of PMI, and we do understand uh, what we need to take care in those ethics. So This is exactly what it is referring to. You have to deal with your team ethically, and you have to ensure that they also follow the same ethics. Physical resource management. Physical resource management means the items, the materials, equipment, etc., is concentrated in allocating and using the physical resources. You see, it is just like an inventory. What is in the store, how much has been used, how much has been allocated, how much has been issued, and so on and so forth. And what are these resources? This could be material, equipment, supplies, etc. And they are needed for successful completion of the project in an efficient and effective way. uh, why I'm saying efficient and effective way, uh, only that much resource must be used which is required to be used. Do not overuse the resources. So we don't want to overuse, we don't want to underuse. So ultimately, we want to be efficient and effective. Effective that we are able to perform that job, what we were assigned to do. And efficient, we are being able to perform that job in the minimum possible resources, most economically. In order to do that, organizations should have data on resource demands now and in the reasonable future, resource configurations that will be required to meet these demands, and the supply of resources. What resources are available in the market? Will that resource be available when we require? So you must have a market survey. You must understand what kind of resource will be available and how will it be procured. For example, during the period of Musharraf, there was a lot of construction work going on suddenly uh, by the government, and nobody took care that how this raw material will be transported all over the country. Everybody was assuming that it will be done. Enough transportation will be available because there had never been a problem. But when you are trying to do something on war footing, everybody started constructing, and ultimately, the trucks which had to transport the material all over the country, they were in short supply. So the demand for transportation was so much that existing vehicles could not fulfill that demand. So you have to take care of this demand supply scenario and try to predict and forecast what resources can be available when. Failing to manage and control resources efficiently is a source of risk for successful project completion. For example, failing to secure critical equipment or infrastructure on time may result in delays in manufacturing of the final product. Ordering low quality material may damage the quality of the product, causing a high rate of recalls or rework. Keeping too much inventory may result in high operations cost and reduce the organization's profit. Unacceptably low inventory levels, on the other hand, may result in not satisfying the customer demand and again reduce the organizational profit. So there could be any number of scenarios in which you will suffer. So you have to be extra careful once you are dealing with resources, and you have to plan it beforehand. So for that matter, like a good project manager, you have to be extra cautious and proactive. So what are the trends and emerging practices? Project management styles are shifting away from a command and control structure for managing projects and towards a more collaborative and supportive management approach that empowers teams by delegating decision making to the team members. What is it referring to? It is referring to servant leadership. This is not a new style. This is quite a bit old style now. Servant leadership is in which the boss is not the boss. The leader is not commanding. He is not. It is not a command and control structure. That if I order something, you will have to do. No. In this, he, the leader, makes available the most suitable environment for the team, and it is up to the team how and what they do. So they have been given the job and they are not being pushed, they are not being commanded and controlled. Just they have been facilitated by the project manager. Project manager is like a servant leader. He will only make the facilities available for them and team will work by its own self. Servant leadership is a very important part of Agile. Rather, I would say in Agile, the leadership style being used is the servant leadership. In addition, modern project resource management approaches seek to optimize resource utilization. What I'm referring here is beyond Agile, that is called Lean. Lean means that you are trying to reduce the wastage. Rather, we want to eliminate the wastage. We do not want a single item to be misused or wasted. We want everything to be done in the most efficient manner. This is being lean. And if you can somehow join these two concepts of agile and lean, that is very much enforceable, and that is called lean agile. Or maybe there is another method which is called Kanban. Kanban is a lean method which is very close to agile, and Kanban can be used in combination with agile. Then are the trends and emerging practices. As far as the resource management is concerned, there there are many resource management methods, new resource management methods, new trends in that. Emotional intelligence has been given special emphasis last few decades. Emotional intelligence is how you can develop empathy, how can you get into the socks of your people, get into their mindset and try to understand them and think like them. You should be able to adapt to them. Self-organizing teams. Self-organizing teams are which will automatically adjust to each other. The people are trained in such a way and the system in the organization is so well formed that any new person can not only fit into the system easily and quickly, but that person can learn the system easily and quickly. Virtual teams and distributed teams. Again, the same concept we were talking a while ago about trying to relocate the team. But if that is not possible, then we must have new mechanisms by which we can deal with our team members at remote locations. That is virtual teams or distributed teams. As far as resource management methods are concerned, due to the scarce nature of critical resources, because there's always a matter of demand and supply. In some industries, several trends have become popular in the past few years. There is extensive literature on these, like I have just mentioned, lean management. Lean management is where we try to reduce or eliminate the waste. Just-in-time manufacturing means the resources are to be available as and when required, not earlier, not later. Kaizen is also similar kind of thing. Total productive maintenance, theory of constraint, and other methods. Theory of constraints is another very interesting theory which says that a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So when you are having a problem in a system, try to find the weakest link in the system and fix that. That is, if we try to fix any other portion, that would not serve the purpose. If we have many constraints in the system, but I am not fixing the weakest, but I am fixing the strongest constraint, then that will not solve the problem at all. We will only be able to solve the problem when we will address the weakest link. A project manager should determine if the performing organization has adopted one or more resource management tools and adopt the project accordingly. Emotional intelligence. Project managers should invest in personal emotional intelligence by improving inbound and outbound competencies. Inbound competencies are, self-management and self-awareness. I must understand myself. I must be thoughtful about my own career and my own competency building. Outbound, this is the relationship management. How I deal with others. As I said, you must have empathy with others. You must be able to understand them. You must think like them to understand them. Research suggests that project teams that succeed in developing team EI, emotional intelligence, are become an emotionally competent group are more effective. Additionally, there is a reduction in staff turnover. If you have a very good environment, people understand each other, then no matter how good opportunity somebody can have, they would not like to leave the group. It is just like, your child is in a school and you suddenly like to take your child away from this school and get him admitted in another school. He will not fit into the new environment very quickly. Rather, the child will resist and he would like to retain himself in the same old school. Because why? Because he has friends there, right? So when you are working in a very docile environment, very cooperative environment, when you understand each other, you are friendly with your team members, then probably you don't want to leave, but come May, even if it is beneficial for you financially, still you don't want to leave. Self-organizing teams, as I was saying, the increase in using agile approaches mainly for execution of IT projects has given rise to self-organizing teams. Self-organizing team is the same concept of, you know, when your leader is just a servant leader and he is not ordering you, he is not commanding you, he is just providing for you. In that case, the team becomes responsible. Not the team leader, but the team becomes responsible. So they would be self-organizing. They would distribute the work amongst themselves and try to organize it, do it by themselves. Leader does not do the work. He does not uh, command the work. He does not control the work. He just facilitates. He just makes available all the resources these people will require to do that job. And the team will take on the responsibility of doing the job in the most efficient manner. So the team functions with an absence of centralized control. No centralized control is required in that. In projects that have self-organizing teams, the project manager, who may not be called a project manager role, provides the team with the environment and support needed and trusts the team to get the job done. Successful self-organizing teams usually consist of generalized specialists instead of subject matter experts who continuously adapt to the changing environment and embrace constructive feedback. Virtual teams and distributed teams, due to the globalization, you are working on projects which are spread over multicultural environment, uh, has promoted the need for virtual teams that work on the same project but are not co-located at the same site, which is otherwise not a good thing. People should be co-located, but naturally that might not be possible in today's environment where we are dealing with multicultural environment and projects spread over the globe. Then probably we have to devise new ways of making effective use of virtual teams. Availability of communication technology like internet, emails, audio conferencing, social media, web-based meetings, etc., has made the virtual teams feasible. Managing virtual teams has unique advantages, such as being able to use special expertise on a project team even when the expert is not in the geographic area. Incorporating employees who work from home offices and including people with mobility limitations or disabilities. So there are a lot many other advantages. So you have to weigh what is better for you. Maybe if there is an activity which can only be done with the presence of that person, so we cannot forego that. But in case that job can be done from distance, then why not? In Western countries right now, what they are doing is they are promoting telecommuting. Even if you are employed in an organization, out of 1 week, 1 day or 2 days every week of your working days, you are supposed to work from home. As if you don't have to travel, and if you will not travel, then there will be less traffic on the roads. So it is by the law, every organization has to get their employees to telecommute, work from home. The challenges of managing virtual teams are mainly in the communication domain, including a possible feeling of isolation, gaps in sharing knowledge and experience between team members, and difficulties in tracking progress and productivity. Possible time zone differences and cultural differences. So these there are challenges. Yes, of course. When the time is not the same in USA and Pakistan, there is a difference of time. So if I am trying to make a call to America and I want to tell my boss uh, that some problem has arisen, then probably it is midnight in America and I should not be calling at that time. I have to take into account the time zone and cultural differences. Because each project is unique, the project manager will need to tailor the way the project resource management processes are applied. So we have to take into account, these are the tailoring considerations. We have to take into account that diversity, multicultural diversity. There are differences in people. Like, there is a very common example that the Chinese people are not very humorous by nature. Whereas Americans, they try to cut jokes and make a joke out of everything. So if you are an American presenting in front of a Chinese group, you are advised not to cut jokes at all because they take it as an offense. Similarly, in Singapore, chewing gum is a crime. So you have to understand the culture and the laws of various places. And if you're dealing with people from those places, you have to consider those things when you're dealing with them. So diversity, physical location, naturally, physical location, there are differences in physical location. Naturally, you can't travel every day to America or something like that. So physical location will also be uh, consideration for that, making tailoring decisions. Industry specific resources, acquisition of team members, management of team, and whatever the life cycle you are using, the life cycle approaches, all these things will affect your decision about resources. As we understand diversity, we can ask the question about the diversity background of your team, physical locations, the physical location of your team members and their resources, industry specific resources, what special resources are needed in that industry, acquisition of team members, how will the team members be acquired for the project, are team resources full time or part time on the project. So these questions have to be answered before you can do the tailoring. Management of team, how is team development managed for the project? Are there organizational tools to manage team development, or will new ones need to be established? Are there team members who have special needs? Will the team need special training to manage diversity? Similarly, for life cycle approaches, what life cycle approach will be used on the project, so on and so forth. Considerations for agile and adaptive environment. Projects with high variability benefit from team structures that maximize focus and collaboration, such as self-organizing teams with generalizing specialists. Collaboration is intended to boost productivity and facilitate innovation problem solving. So we are talking two things here. Number one is that collaboration will boost your productivity. If you are self-organizing team and you are able to uh, work together in a collaborative environment, then you will be able to be more efficient in your work and ultimately more productive. And this will also facilitate innovation, creativity, and innovation. Collaborative teams may facilitate accelerated integration of distinct work activities, improve communication, increase knowledge sharing, and provide flexibility. First process in resource management is naturally the plan resource management. And in plan resource management, you remember we have to develop a guideline as if how to do the estimation and how to do the management and control of these living and non-living resources. So the key benefit would be to establish the approach and level of management effort needed for managing project resources based on type and complexity of the project. If you look at the inputs, tools, and outputs, you will see that we like any management plan, we need charter, we need project management plan, we need project documents, we need enterprise environmental factors, and we need organizational process assets. This is standardized. We need these five things for every management plan: charter, project management plan, project documents, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Although what is required in project management plan, that might differ. What is required in project document, that might differ slightly. So in project management plan, for developing the resource management plan, I need to have the quality management plan, because we are talking about the quality of the resources also, and the scope baseline. In project documents, we would require the project schedule, the requirement documentation, risk registers, and stakeholder register. Here in tools, expert judgment, we very well understand what the expert judgment means. So this expert judgment is required as a tool. And more importantly, we require here the data representation. How do we represent the data? So we can represent the data in form of a hierarchical chart, like the organizational chart we have. We have to develop an organizational chart for our project. So hierarchical charts could be there, which could define who is working under whom. And then is a responsibility assignment matrix. This is a kind of a matrix or a worksheet in which we assign the responsibilities, different responsibilities to different people. So one axis will show people and one axis will show work. So the relationship between the people and the work will be shown on that matrix, and that would show their roles and responsibilities. Then it could also be in a text-oriented format. Organizational theory and meetings are also tools to create the resource management plan, the guideline we are trying to create, and the team charter is issued. Team is assigned, team charter is issued. Project documents are updated like assumption log and risk register. Resource planning is used to determine and identify an approach to ensure that sufficient resources are available for the successful completion of the project. Naturally, because you are providing a guideline, you have to provide a reason how this will be done, and therefore an approach for resource management is first defined into it. Project resources may include, as we have already described, to people as well as other non-living items like supplies, materials, equipment, services, facilities, etc. Effective resource planning should consider and plan for the availability of our competition for scarce resources. As I said, the resource which is going to be required more, demanded more, it will be in short supply, and therefore you must plan for dealing with such kind of resources. Those resources can be obtained from the organization's internal assets or from outside the organization through a procurement process. If at all it is to be acquired through a procurement process, then we have another knowledge area, project procurement management, in which we will do the remaining process of making those resources available through procurement. But as far as the internal assets are concerned, that will be dealt by the plan resource management. Other projects may be competing for the same resource. If you have got some strategically important resource, like you have only one bulldozer in your organization, and it is needed by three different projects at the same time, who should be given that? I have already discussed with you when we were talking about portfolio, that portfolio will decide which project is more important to us. So the project which is contributing the most towards the organizational objectives would get the priority, and it is a decision of the portfolio. This may significantly impact the project cost, schedule, risk, quality, and other project areas. So these are the inputs. We have nothing to discuss much about them. Tools and techniques. Yes, expert judgment we understand. Let's talk about the data representation. In data representation, we have the hierarchical charts. What kind of hierarchical charts are there? There are different hierarchical charts which start from top and are broken down in several portions downstairs. Like one of the example is a work breakdown structure. We have studied in scope. We created the work breakdown structure. It was breaking the project down to the work packages. Then we have the organizational breakdown structure. This is the organizational structure of an organization. It is headed by the CEO and then broken down the department and so on and so forth. And then is the resource breakdown structure. The resource breakdown structure is more important to us here for data representation purposes. And naturally, this resource breakdown structure will also have some association with the organizational breakdown structure and work breakdown structure. But the resource breakdown structure is more like an inventory. Like you say, I have got two kinds of resources, living resources and non-living resources. In living resources, I have engineers and carpenters and this and this. And out of engineers, I need, out of carpenters, I need them classified into four categories: A, B, C, and D. And A category, in A category, I have got 10 carpenters. In B category, I have 3 carpenters, and so on and so forth. So if I can somehow organize this into a resource breakdown structure, this is a full-fledged inventory created. And now I would know how many resources are available in what category, and when those resources are required, I can pull those resources from there and allocate them to the job, and that could be recorded. And this way, it is just like issuing resources from a store. Then assignment matrix is the responsibility assignment matrix is kind of a chart in which on one side we write the name of the people, and on the other side the work packages are the work activities or whatever you want to assign it to, and that way on the cross section of these two would be shown the responsibility. This is an example of responsibility assignment matrix. This specific kind of responsibility assignment matrix is called RASI. RASI chart is where you want to define the R for responsible, A for accountable, C for consult, and I for inform. So these are the four roles we want to define for different people. So what are the roles? For example, creating the charter is an activity, and on top there are 5 names written: Anne, Ben, Carlos, Dina, and Ed. So A means Anne is accountable for creating the charter. Ben is responsible for creating the charter. And Carlos, Dina, and Ed have to be informed, just informed. It's one-way communication. They cannot contribute to it, but they can be informed. So once the charter is created, send the communication. Similarly, in collect requirements, you see who is accountable? Ben is accountable. Who is responsible? Carlos is responsible. Who are to be consulted? Dina and Ed have to be consulted. And who has to be informed? Anne has to be informed. So this way, you see, every person could have a different role. Someone will be responsible, someone will be accountable, some will be consulted, and some will be informed. And this is not the only way it can be represented. There are many other shapes of like I have seen about 5-10 types of these kind of charts, RASCI chart and many others. But the most popular one is the Rasi chart. So this is a type of uh, what do you call it? The responsibility assignment matrix. Responsibility assignment matrix may not assign the roles, but this specific Rasi chart is able to assign the roles like accountability, like responsible, consult, and inform. Then text-oriented formats, team members' responsibilities that require detailed description can be specified in text-oriented format, usually in outline form. So if you want to give these responsibilities in detail, so you can write it down in shape of a job specification or description, something like that. So it could be a format in which the details of the responsibility are written. Organizational theory provides information regarding the way in which people, teams, and organization units behave. जी अहमद आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे? I'm sorry मैंने देखा नहीं. Okay, accountable or responsible. Very good. I should have explained it. Okay. Generally speaking, it is assumed that a person who is responsible is also accountable. Generally हम यही समझते हैं और यही इसी के ऊपर काम होता है कि जी मैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल हूँ, मैं ही अकाउंटेबल हूँ और हर बंदा जो रिस्पॉन्सिबल है वो अकाउंटेबल है. It may be true, but basically, say I am a project manager of a multi-million-dollar project. How much do they pay me? At most, they would be paying me 2 or 3 lakh rupees per month. But if this multi-million-dollar project is due to my fault, that goes for a 6. I am responsible for day-to-day working of the project, but can I be held accountable for this? Can I fulfill the loss I have caused in this project? I cannot be held completely accountable for such a huge blunder. So there must be somebody looking over me, and the accountability would be transferred to that person, and the responsibility I will retain. So generally speaking, accountability of anything should be kept a level higher than the responsibility. So my boss will be accountable while I am responsible. So if I am doing something wrong, my boss is supposed to check me and fix the problem. So he is accountable and I am responsible. So this is the difference. I am not saying that if you are responsible, you are not accountable. You are accountable, but not as much as your boss, because you can be accounted for a certain amount. You cannot account for the whole project. It could be an indicative accountability. You could be fined 10 lakh rupees or a million rupee or something like that, but you can't be held accountable for all the loss of the project. So this is the difference between accountability and responsibility. And I would say that in general terms, if I am responsible for doing the project, I will carry some accountability, and my boss will be more accountable and a bit responsible. Maybe let's say 80-20. My boss, the project sponsor, is 80% accountable and 20% responsible for the project. I am 20% accountable, 20% accountable and 80% responsible for the project. Generally, the management position is the position which is responsible for day-to-day working of the project. Whereas you see, I've seen the role of the project sponsor. He has just created the charter and given this job to me, and he is looking over me for the whole project. So if anything goes wrong, he is actually answerable to the big boss. Right, then we have the project outputs. Resource management plan will be created, team charter will be created, and the project documents. Resource management plan, as we have already discussed, is a component of the project management plan, is a part of the project management plan, and it provides guidance for the project resources, how should they be categorized, allocated, managed, and released, etc. And what should be the ingredients of the resource management plan? First of all, identification of resources. How are you going to do it? What is the method or approach you are going to be using to identify the resources, to quantify the resources, to measure their performance and all that? Then how will you acquire the resources, and guidance will be provided in that? And then are the roles and responsibilities, roles, authority, responsibility, what is the competence required, the job descriptions, job specifications, all that is included in the resource management plan. Then your organizational chart, how it will look like in project, who is answerable to whom, team resource management, training strategies for your team members, team development methods. So you see, in resource management plan, these are just the guidelines. Uh, with using these guidelines, you will develop the detailed training need assessment, training plans, schedules for training, and team development activities and all that. That will be the result of the resource management plan. That is not in. Second process is estimate activity resources. आपने देखा कि प्लानिंग, जब हम प्लान रिसोर्सेज किए हैं तो वहां पे हमने मेथड्स, अप्रोचेस, गाइडलाइंस सारी वहां डिसाइड कर ली थी, और अब हम उन रिसोर्सेज को एस्टिमेट करने लगे हैं। एस्टिमेट रिसोर्सेज, ये जैसे हमने ड्यूरेशन को एस्टिमेट किया था, कॉस्ट को एस्टिमेट किया था, रिसोर्सेज को भी एस्टिमेट, ये उसी का एक पार्ट है। जब ये तीनों एस्टिमेट हो जाएंगे तो तब हम इसका स्केड्यूल और कॉस्ट प्रॉपर तरीके से बेसलाइन कर पाएंगे। मतलब ये है कि रिसोर्सेज की कैलकुलेशन से पहले, रिसोर्स एस्टिमेशन से पहले हमारा बेसलाइन बन ही नहीं सकता। जब हमें पता होगा कितने रिसोर्सेज लग रहे हैं तो हम उसके हिसाब से उसका रेट लगाएंगे, उसकी अवेलेबिलिटी लगाएंगे, तो ये उस हिसाब से। तो estimate activity resources is the process of estimating team resources and the type and quantities of materials, equipment and supplies necessary to perform the project work. वो जो हमें जितना जितना जो रिसोर्स हर काम के लिए एक्टिविटी लेवल पे बॉटम अप से हम इसको लेके चलेंगे, एक एक एक्टिविटी के रिसोर्सेज कैलकुलेट करेंगे और फिर उनको सम अप करके हम टोटल रिसोर्सेज कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं। एक तो टोटल रिसोर्सेज पूरे प्रोजेक्ट के पता चल जाएंगे। दूसरी बात, जिस तरीके के साथ मैंने आपको टाइम मैनेजमेंट के अंदर, स्केड्यूल मैनेजमेंट के अंदर बताया था कि वंस आई नो द रिसोर्सेज फॉर ईच एंड एवरी एक्टिविटी, और जब मैं उसको प्लॉट करूंगा गैन चार्ट की सूरत में, तो मैं वो रिसोर्सेज उसके ऊपर लोड करके उन एक्टिविटीज के ऊपर ये बता सकता हूं कि एट एनी वन पॉइंट इन टाइम हाउ मच रिसोर्सेज आर रिक्वायर्ड फॉर एनी एक्टिविटी। जो भी अगली एक्टिविटी शुरू हो रही है, कोई खत्म हो गई है, उससे कितने रिलीज होंगे, अगली में कितने जाएंगे, जरूरत कितनों की है, दैट ऑल विल बी डन देयर। तो इसका बेनिफिट बेसिकली ये है कि दिस प्रोसेस इज दैट इट आइडेंटिफाइज द टाइप ऑफ रिसोर्सेज क्या है, उनकी क्वांटिटी क्या है, उनकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक क्या है, जो कि प्रोजेक्ट को हमें रिक्वायर्ड है। इसके बाद जो हमारा इसका चार्ट है इनपुट आउटपुट्स का, उसको अगर आप एक नजर देखें तो यहाँ हमें प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट प्लान चाहिए, जिसके अंदर नेचुरली अभी रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट प्लान बनाया था वो रिक्वायर्ड है, और स्कोप बेसलाइन रिक्वायर्ड है। प्रोजेक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्स में जो चीजें हमें यहाँ लेके चलनी है, उसमें एक्टिविटी लिस्ट और एट्रीब्यूट ज्यादा है आपको, कि वो एक्टिविटीज के ऊपर ही तो रिसोर्स नहीं लगना है, तो मुझे एक्टिविटी एट्रीब्यूट भी चाहिए, एक्टिविटी रिसोर्सेज भी चाहिए, एक्टिविटी लिस्ट भी चाहिए, एट्रीब्यूट भी चाहिए। एजम्पशंस जितनी भी अभी तक हैं उनको भी साथ लेके चलना है, क्योंकि उन्हीं एजम्पशंस के तहत तो रिसोर्स लगाए जा रहे हैं। कॉस्ट एस्टिमेट भी मुझे चाहिए, और रिसोर्स कैलेंडर क्या था कि कौन कौन सा रिसोर्स कब कब अवेलेबल होगा तारीखों के हिसाब से, ताकि मैं उन्हीं के हिसाब से उसे अप्लाई कर सकूं। कि मिसाल के तौर पे एक रिसोर्स है जिसका कैलेंडर में लिखा हुआ है कि ये 1 महीने की छुट्टी पे है, तो मैं कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि मैं कारपेंटर के खाते में उसे फिट करता जाऊं काम के ऊपर जबकि वो छुट्टी पे हो। तो रिसोर्स कैलेंडर मुझे ये बताएगा कौन सा रिसोर्स की कमिटमेंट कहाँ है और कहाँ कब वो अवेलेबल नहीं है। तो जब वो अवेलेबल हो उस टाइम में मैं उसकी एलोकेशन करूं, अदरवाइज नहीं करूं। और मुझे रिस्क रजिस्टर भी पता होना चाहिए। तो एंटरप्राइज इन्वायरमेंटल फैक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एसेट्स में से अब मैंने जनाब जो टूल एंड टेक्निक इस्तेमाल करने हैं एक्सपर्ट जजमेंट है। बाकी अगर आप गौर करें तो तकरीबन टूल्स वही वाले हैं जो कि कॉस्ट एस्टिमेशन के लिए या स्केड्यूल की ड्यूरेशन एस्टिमेशन के लिए हम इस्तेमाल करते थे। बॉटम अप एस्टिमेशन है, एक एक्टिविटी का एस्टिमेट निकल आया, उससे आपने वर्क पैकेज का एस्टिमेट लगा लिया, उससे आपने ऊपर फेज का लगा लिया एंड सो ऑन। तो आप पूरे प्रोजेक्ट का एस्टिमेट रिसोर्स के हवाले से लगा सकते हैं बॉटम अप। एनालॉगस एस्टिमेट भी लगा सकते हैं। इस तरह का पहले हमने एक काम किया था, उस पर 3 आदमी लगे थे, तो अभी उसके हिसाब से कितने लगेंगे। पैरामीट्रिक एस्टिमेटिंग है कि एक आदमी एक दिन में इतना काम करता है तो 10 आदमी कितना काम करेंगे। इसी तरह फिर हम डाटा एनालिसिस का भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं, अल्टरनेटिव एनालिसिस करते हैं कि हमारे पास क्या क्या तरीके अवेलेबल है। ये काम मैं बंदे हायर करके भी करवा सकता हूँ, ये काम मैं ठेकेदार से भी करवा सकता हूँ, या ये काम हम अपने इन हाउस रिसोर्सेज से भी कर सकते हैं। तो क्या अल्टरनेटिव अवेलेबल है और विच अल्टरनेटिव इज चीपर फॉर मी, यहाँ पे वही कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस मैं इस्तेमाल करूंगा। प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम है कि वर्क फ्लो सिस्टम क्या है मेरे प्रोजेक्ट का, क्या चीजें हो रही हैं, कौन से डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं। मतलब इट इज नॉट ओनली द स्केड्यूल, वो जो हम कहते हैं ना जी MS प्रोजेक्ट या प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट सॉफ्टवेयर, ये वो नहीं है। ये है तो सॉफ्टवेयर टाइप की चीज, लेकिन दिस इज द होल मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम। और इस प्रोजेक्ट PMIS के अंदर इवन ये प्रोजेक्ट चार्टर, टीम चार्टर, ये वो जितने भी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है वो भी उसका पार्ट है। उनके वेरियस वर्जन की कॉन्फ़िगरेशन और कंट्रोल सब उसके अंदर है। और उसके अलावा ये स्केड्यूल वगैरह भी है। मीटिंग्स आपके टूल हैं जी। रिजल्टेंटली यू विल कम अप विद द रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स। और आपको याद होगा कॉस्ट में जब हमने कॉस्ट एस्टिमेट निकाले थे तो उसके साथ हमने कहा था कि बेसिस ऑफ एस्टिमेट, और उसमें हमने बात भी की थी लेदर से। इधर भी हम जब एक रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स निकालेंगे तो हम रिसोर्स के भी बेसिस पर एस्टिमेट देंगे और बताएंगे कि ये क्या वजह है कि हमने ये एस्टिमेट ऐसे निकाला। मतलब उसकी वजह हम प्रोवाइड करेंगे, भले वो कैलकुलेशन हो, भले वो कोई एनालॉगस एस्टिमेट हो, पैरामीटर हो, कुछ भी हो, मुझे बताना पड़ेगा कि क्यों मैंने ये एस्टिमेट इतना इतना लगाया। रिसोर्स ब्रेकडाउन स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में मैं आपको पहले बता चुका हूं कि रिसोर्सेज का ब्रेकडाउन, रिसोर्स की मेन हेड क्या है, उसके नीचे कौन से रिसोर्सेज हैं, उसके नीचे और अल्टीमेटली सबसे बॉटम पे। तो इस तरीके के साथ हमें इन्वेंटरी कंट्रोल करने में हेल्प मिलेगी कि कितने बंदे थे, उनमें से कितने बंदे किस काम के लिए चले गए, कितने रह गए। तो ये रिसोर्स ब्रेकडाउन स्ट्रक्चर इस काम में हमें मददगार होगा। प्रोजेक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट हम अपडेट करेंगे जी, एक्टिविटी एट्रीब्यूट्स अपडेट हो जाएंगे, assumptions कोई नहीं हुई तो वो लॉग में चली जाएंगी, और लेसन लर्न अगर हमने कोई लर्न किए तो वो रजिस्टर में चले जाएंगे। नीचे देख लेते हैं जी, इसमें से कोई चीज एक्सप्लेनेशन मांगती है। अगर आप देखें प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट प्लान के अंदर जो चीजें हैं इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं होना चाहिए। प्रोजेक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्स में कोई नई चीज नहीं है, सब वही चीजें जो हम पहले कर चुके हैं। मेरा ख्याल आप बॉटम अप एस्टिमेशन को अगर देखना चाहें तो ये वही चीजें हैं, लेकिन अभी जरा थोड़ा टीम के हिसाब से लिखा होगा। मिसाल के तौर पे बॉटम अप एस्टिमेटिंग में कहता है कि टीम एंड फिजिकल रिसोर्सेज आर एस्टिमेटेड एट द एक्टिविटी लेवल एंड देन एग्रीगेटेड टू डेवलप द एस्टिमेट फॉर वर्क पैकेजेस। वहां से ऊपर कंट्रोल अकाउंट, उससे ऊपर समरी प्रोजेक्ट लेवल एंड सो ऑन। एनालॉगस एस्टिमेटिंग है कि हम किसी के रेफरेंस से बना रहे हैं। पैरामीट्रिक एस्टिमेटिंग है। डाटा एनालिसिस को पढ़ लीजिए। डाटा एनालिसिस टेक्निक यूज्ड इन दिस प्रोसेस इंक्लूड्स बट इज नॉट लिमिटेड टू अल्टरनेटिव एनालिसिस। मैंने कहा ना आपको कि क्या क्या अल्टरनेटिव ओपन है आपके पास, तो ये एक ही टेक्निक यहाँ पे इस्तेमाल होगी। PMIS की भी बात कर ली, मीटिंग्स की। रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स हमारी निकलेंगी। रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स आइडेंटिफाई द टाइप एंड क्वांटिटीज ऑफ रिसोर्सेज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर ईच वर्क पैकेज और एक्टिविटी in a work package and can be aggregated to determine the estimated resources for each work package, each WBS branch and the project as a whole. तो मतलब ये हुआ कि हमें हर एक्टिविटी का रिसोर्स एस्टिमेट पता होगा, उससे हमने वर्क पैकेजेस निकाल लिया होगा, तो वर्क पैकेजेस का भी पता होगा, तो वो पूरी हायरार्की जो हमने बनाई थी उसके हिसाब से हम इसको बॉटम अप करके देख सकते हैं। ये हमारी टोटल रिसोर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स है। बेसिस ऑफ एस्टिमेट में आप ये बताएंगे कि आपने क्या मेथड इस्तेमाल किया है इस एस्टिमेट को डेवलप करने के लिए, रिसोर्सेज यूज्ड टू डेवलप द एस्टिमेट, एस्टिमेट करने के लिए क्या रिसोर्सेज लगे आपके, assumptions एसोसिएटेड क्या थी, नोन कंस्ट्रेंट्स क्या थे, रेंज ऑफ एस्टिमेट क्या था, कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल कितना है, मतलब एक्यूरेसी कितनी है, और डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ऑफ आइडेंटिफाइड रिस्क जो है वो अगर कोई है तो। इसी तरह रिसोर्स ब्रेकडाउन स्ट्रक्चर है। ये आपके सामने एक एग्जांपल है रिसोर्स ब्रेकडाउन स्ट्रक्चर की। प्रोजेक्ट है, उसने कहा जी मिसाल के तौर पे प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर 3 किस्म के रिसोर्सेज हों, पर्सनल हों, मटेरियल्स हों और इक्विपमेंट हो। पर्सनल को आपने मुख्तलिफ रोल्स में बांटा हुआ है कि जी ये डॉक्टर्स हैं, इंजीनियर्स हैं, फलाने हैं, कारपेंटर्स हैं। मटेरियल्स हैं, उनको मुख्तलिफ में डाला हुआ है। जितनी किस्म की टाइप ऑफ रिसोर्सेज आपने ऊपर लिखी हुई है और उन टाइप्स को आपने इधर खोला हुआ है और उनको फिर आगे आप मजीद एक्सप्लेन करते जाते हैं। तो यहाँ पे ये चार्ट जो बनता है बिल्कुल इसकी शक्ल देखने में WBS की तरह या ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर की तरह है, लेकिन यहाँ पे ये रिसोर्सेज का ब्रेकडाउन बनाता है। आई डोंट नो आपको नजर आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि ये चार्ट नजर आ रहा है जी आपको, सैंपल रिसोर्स ब्रेकडाउन स्ट्रक्चर।
चार्ट तो नहीं नजर आ रहा, वो सिर्फ टेक्स्ट लिखा हुआ है।
कोई ना चेंज नहीं हो
ये
रहा।
भी आ गया सर,
आ गया। हाँ, इसको जरा देखिएगा। मेरे प्रोजेक्ट के ऊपर फर्ज करें ये 3 किस्म के मेन कैटेगरीज हैं, पर्सनल हैं, मटेरियल्स हैं और इक्विपमेंट हैं। पर्सनल के अंदर फिर मुख्तलिफ किस्म के रोल हो सकते हैं, कारपेंटर है, जो भी कुछ है। मटेरियल्स में किस किस किस्म के मटेरियल हैं, इक्विपमेंट में किस किस किस्म के, फिर उनके अंदर फर्दर सब क्लासिफिकेशन और उसके अंदर फिर उसकी क्वांटिटी। तो ये मेरी एक पूरी इन्वेंट्री बन गई, सारे रिसोर्सेज की एक इन्वेंट्री मेरे पास बन गई। और यहाँ मैं बाकायदा इसका रिकॉर्ड रख सकता हूँ कि यहाँ 3 बंदे थे, 3 में से 2 फलाने काम पे भेज दिए, पीछे 1 बचा, वो फलानी तारीख को वापस आ रहे हैं। बिल्कुल ऐसे ही समझ लीजिए जैसे आप एक लाइब्रेरी में जाते हैं और लाइब्रेरी का इशुएंस का रिकॉर्ड होता है, इशू का और रिसीव का रिकॉर्ड होता है कि यार किताबें कौन सी थी, किधर गई, कहाँ से वापस आ गई। इसी तरीके के साथ हम सारे रिसोर्सेज का एक इन्वेंट्री बना रहे हैं, एक रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन कर रहे हैं। तो ये चीज जो है उसमें हमारी बड़ी मददगार साबित होती है। अच्छा जी, आखिर में जो उसके बाद नेक्स्ट हमारा जो आ जाते हैं वो एग्जीक्यूशन में हम चले जाते हैं। एग्जीक्यूशन में एक्वायर रिसोर्सेज हमारे पास प्रोसेस है और इसमें जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि फिजिकल रिसोर्सेज भी और दूसरे रिसोर्सेज भी दोनों को एक्वायर करना है आपने, ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज को भी और फिजिकल रिसोर्सेज को भी। तो एक्वायर रिसोर्सेज इज द प्रोसेस ऑफ ऑब्टेनिंग टीम मेंबर। जी जी